Hey Jim, I know you said you wanted something in the drop box, so I figured I would start with the chicken that you need the most. This is a silky. They're actually really cool birds. They have black skin, totally black skin, and they have 5 toes instead of 4 like most chickens. In lieu of a silky, here's a buff Orpington. She's dual purpose. She's meat and she's eggs, and she has very good broody instincts. She's mostly feathers. She's a lot smaller than she looks. There's my little cock. He's going to be going in the pod as soon as he starts to crow. Here's quail pen number 1. These guys are in the little one because I'm trying to get some eggs from them to hatch. There's a couple over here, a couple over here, and it looks like 1 egg, a small egg. I clipped their wings so they can't really fly anywhere, otherwise they would be popping out of here like popcorn. They're very flighty, definitely not a fan of being held at all. Let me see. You touch one, it looks like he got exploded. Anyway, so not such a fan of being held, but there's quail number 1. An egg. I don't really have a coop, but this is where they sleep at night. Got one in here. The white stuff on the ground is just diatomaceous earth. It keeps the flies from coming in. There's a broom. I took off the broom part, picked it off the side of the road. You might call it redneck, I call it rustic. And a higher up perch for the older ones. They're staggered a little bit so they don't poop on each other. I don't really clean this out that much. Doesn't really need it. I think between the diatomaceous earth and the fact that I've got the straw down here and it's very ventilated. It's just a little shack, so poop tends to dry out really fast. In here what tend to be in here are soldier flies. I actually pulled a larva out for you so you could see it. They're just little fly larvae, I guess. But they are flies, but they are not pests. And the adults don't even eat or anything, they just kind of make little larvae. And a lot of people use them for compost. What else? Oh, this is a mulberry tree. Here used to be a really, really nice rabbit pen. I've still got some pictures of it, but when the hurricane came through about a year ago, it knocked down a big piece of my mulberry tree, and that was the end of the fence. I'm stepping on strawberries here. Used to be an old strawberry bed too, but they're spreading everywhere. I gotta take care of them. Here's another load of rabbit poo. Pretty well composted. It's like dirt. I let the chickens go through it, and they break it down pretty well. Here's just some chicken litter whenever I do clean it out. Flies don't tend to get in here just because how dry it is. It's also underneath an oak tree, so we don't get a lot of rain down here. Oh, and in this oak tree, I don't know if you can see it, there's a squirrel nest up there. And immediately below that squirrel nest is my broody hen, which is not very good for her because the squirrels throw things at her and they drop old food, and generally not a good time for her. I put up a little fence around here so nobody would bother her. Otherwise my dog would get under there and eat her eggs. Not a good place for her. Anyways, if you want to know how a chicken, or if a chicken is broody or not, if you go to them and they make this noise, well, she's not gonna make the noise, but she has the tail, the triangle tail. That's a good way of knowing. If she wasn't broody, she would just fly off of her nest and you know, leave it be. But she's got she has 12 eggs under there, all nice and warm. In about 12 more days, she'll get angry and she'll peck you too. In about 12 eggs, I'll be able to candle, which means I take like a flashlight and I put the egg on top, or I put the flashlight here and I put my hand on top of it and I put the egg on top of my hand, and then you can see inside of it at night. And I do that and I can see eyes. I don't know if you've ever seen a half incubated chicken, but they have enormous eyes. Very easy to see. Anyway, from that mulberry tree, we've got a bunch of just mulberry bushes all over the place. I'll cut those down and feed them to the rabbits. Another little mulberry. This used to be my garden. I didn't plant a garden this year because we're moving and I wasn't sure when. So it's pretty much taken over by blackberries, which I'll also cut down and feed to the rabbits. There's some onions from last year, and oh, here's some poke. Dangerous. Don't eat it unless it's brand new. Oh, wild grapes taking over. Here's one of my rabbit pens. These are the colonies. They're a big fan of grapes. But I have them in a dog kennel that I rustically took from the side of the road. I have a tarp over them, hanging over the side, so it's pretty much weatherproof. And because this tarp is right underneath the oak tree, the acorns will come and they'll fall in here and they'll roll and they'll come down here. And I actually put this little pan here and I can collect acorns and feed them to the rabbits. Rabbits are a big fan of the acorns. It's a good free meal for them. A lot of fat in it, so it fattens them up real well. What else? There's a couple of pecan trees over there. Oh, this is why you should always put a hiding place on your property. Here's where one of my silkies got taken by a hawk. I know it was a hawk because I came back a few minutes later with some gloves for the body and the hawk was back, and then went over to my other quail pen. In fact, let me show you the other quail pen. So there's a lot of feathers on the ground, just from all the molting they've been doing. But every day I'll come through and I'll just come through and hold onto the bottom and just pull it real gentle, and they'll watch their feet, and then I can pull them to a new patch of grass with some new bugs and all. It's real easy. I'm doing it all with one hand. This is wire that I picked off the side of the road, again being very rustic. There we go. And they have fresh grass to eat. Anyway, quail are the only animals besides the rabbits here that I actually feed. I laid an egg in there. They only like to eat food that they can fit in their mouth easy. So here's a bunch of fines that they're not going to eat. We can just dump out. And chickens will come back for it. But, oh, they're a big fan of dust baths too. Because I don't let them free range. That's just a bin of diatomaceous earth. And they'll eye it, and they'll jump in, and they'll just have a great time. I try and give it to them about every other day. It helps keep the parasites off their skin. And, just for their general well-being. If I don't give them any sort of dust at all, they'll dust bathe in their food. But quail, they seem to lay more egg per body size than chickens do, but they're a real pain to deal with because they have a real thick membrane. So when you go to crack it, it doesn't really crack all that well. It just kind of, you know, mushes. So what I'll do is I'll let it sit out on the counter for about 5 days, and then I'll hard boil them, and then I'll crack them and let them soak for a little bit, and then just give it to the kids and let the kids go ahead and peel them for me. See, it's my Buff Orpington trying to come back for some more. Yeah, but they're big fans of dust baths. Again, I clip their wings too, otherwise they'd be flying out of here. They're real good flyers. Here's some grapes and kiwis. This is grape. That's Carlos. This is a kiwi, a female kiwi. I went through and I whacked her a lot too because they're doing this. I didn't train them as well as I really should have. This is my Concord grape. It gave me probably like 18 bunches of grapes this year, which isn't bad. It's a third-year plant, I think. What else? There's a male kiwi. There's a, what is it? Carlos again, grape. There's another grape, and another grape, and another kiwi. And this here is a Virginia creeper. Again, you can feed that to the rabbits. What else? Oh, this plant. I'm not sure what it is. It was a little tree, and it was falling over, so I kicked it over, and it kept growing. And then I threw it in the burn bucket that I'll show you. And it was still growing, even though I burned it probably 3 times, and it was still growing. It's crazy. But anyway, the stump's starting to grow back. Can't kill that thing. Some maples. This is pretty much what my whole yard looked like when we moved in. Just rotted down pine needles. It was a divorce house when we got it, so it didn't really look all that nice. So we planted grass, which has grown all but, you know, right here where the chickens decided they're gonna take all the mulch and throw it back over. So otherwise it looks pretty good. Decent. Let me see. Here's old compost piles. Used to be more than full, but now about half full. I'm sure there's a lot of critters in there. But it's real nice compost. I would mix old, what do you call it? Old pine needles, and I would get some of the grounds for your garden from Starbucks, because they have this grounds for your garden program where you just walk in and say, hey, I want some coffee grounds, and they'll give it to you, which is pretty neat. Here's an old board that I used to collect more nuts. Back here are my rabbits. Here's 3, mom and baby, 2 more. They're underneath a couple of tarps. Let's see. So, I mean, it's a real nice shady area with the tree up here, and it's in kind of like a wind tunnel between, you know, here and the fence. So it's always very windy, but I keep the tarp draped over them, and on the other side, you can kind of see where I dug out all the poop. Yeah, but they'll poop and they'll pee down here, and sometimes there's some feed that falls, and when the chickens find it, they'll eat that. And I'll move the hay and kind of shake up the hay, and then the poop will just kind of fall down, and I can scrape it out. I probably do that every 3 months or so. I mean, there's no flies. Rabbits are one of the only animals that will actually eat their poop twice. Every single piece of poop that comes out has gone through the body at least once. They'll eat like little grape clusters called cicatrophs, and they'll digest it again, and then they'll poop out the round pellets, as you know them, which are pretty much just hay by then. Rabbits are very, very efficient. Hi guys! These are my silver foxes. Made these cages with leftover stuff I pulled off the side of the road again. But they're all nice. They're the only breed of rabbit that, yeah, no, it's such a fan on the camera. When you stroke their fur backwards, it'll stay up until you stroke it back down. She's a real good example of a breed. It stays up until you stroke it back down. It's also very, very thick. They're dual-purpose rabbits. They're for meat, and they're for fur. And I've been saving their fur. He's a blue silver fox. He doesn't like me. I got him when he was older. And he's a New Zealand. He's real friendly. That's doubtful sound. But anyway, I've got this for the sun barrier, and I've got this I can pull out if I need to, and it'll run the rain off of it onto the ground. Anyways, I usually give them a lot of hay. They usually have free choice hay, but I've been holding it the last few days so I can get to the poop a little easier. But I'll have a lot of hay, and it'll fall down here too. and then that'll make a nice area to protect the worms from the chickens who would otherwise eat them, and so the worms can have their go at the poop. Here's what it would usually look like. She just had babies though, so there's some fur on the bottom from her pulling. More poop. Oh, here's where the hobo lived. I don't know if I told you about the hobo. He burned our fence, burned my my netting here, just in case a rabbit ever got out. Burned our fence. We called the cops. He didn't do anything because it's not technically our fence. Oh. These are kitty litter buckets. Hey! I use these for nesting boxes. It's got the little blue lip on there that's pretty much built in to scrape off babies if they ever hold onto the nipple so they don't get dragged out and fall to their doom. There's some more wire from the side of the road that I haven't decided what to do with. What else? Oh, that's about it for right now. I'm kind of paring down. Oh, here. There's a chicken dusting area where they'll come through and they'll rip everything up, and this is where they dust. I don't give them diatomaceous earth like I do the other animals. Little cock who's gonna go as soon as he crows. She's an Americana. She's got, I don't know if you can see it. She's got little tufts on the side of her face. She's the only breed that has that. That's how you can tell she's an Americana. But she'll lay like a green or a bluish egg. Sookie lays like a brownish egg, much smaller than the other chickens. He's a Rhode Island cock. His sisters are all laying eggs, but not. I haven't heard him crow, and I'm dying here. Anyway. Oh. When that mulberry tree fell down, that big old branch, I took all the leaves off of it, and I laid them out here in the sun, and I let them dry, and was able to collect about 400 gallons of compressed, dried mulberry leaves, and I used that for rabbit feed, and that lasted me pretty much the whole winter. Very nice, cheap source of food. I know in China they have silkworm farms, and of course they feed silkworms mulberries, and they actually have rabbits that eat the leftover mulberries, and that's all the rabbits eat are mulberries. It's funny. Anyway, we've got this little doghouse thing here to prevent hawk attacks. They'll hide under there if they need to. I don't know, that's about it for the backyard. We've got some more nut trees over there. I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as I turn this off, but it's a good start. Hope you enjoyed.